The summer is made for beach reads, and preschoolers are no different than adults. Hello, I am Nicole Trevillis-Fravel, and this is Wildly Teaching. And today I have rounded up a few of my favorite picture books looking at nature around the ocean or a beach. So let's dive in. The first one I have for you is How to Hide an Octopus by Ruth Heller. And this book, on every other page, introduces a sea creature. And then on the following page, that sea creature is camouflaged somewhere for children to find it. And I have to admit, it actually took me quite a bit of time to find this sargassum fish, but I eventually did. And obviously, this book is a great time to introduce camouflage activities to the preschoolers. One of our favorites is I like to take little acrylic animals and hide them around the area. I say hide them in plain sight because I'm not sticking them in drawers or anything. I'm just camouflaging them. And then as the children find them, we like to line them up in the order in which they were found so that we can have a discussion, right? Why was this one found first? What made this one easier or more difficult to find? And it never fails. The children want to do it again and again, or they want to take a turn hiding the animals, right? Can you find a better way to camouflage this animal? In fact, I think there's a little green frog hidden somewhere under a fern in the forest that has been there for a few months now because the child remembered that she hid it somewhere under a fern, right? Because it was green, and we have not been able to find that well camouflaged frog ever since. Right, another good one is Beach Feet by Kiyomi Konagaya. And this one is really interesting for its perspective. So all of the illustrations are of the child's feet. And it's talking about all of the textures and sensations that the child feels with their feet when they are on the beach. And I think after reading this book, this is the perfect time to invite children to take off their shoes, to take off their socks, especially in the summer, and figure out what sensations they can feel with their feet. Now, if you aren't lucky enough to have different textures already in your natural landscape, right? Grass, cement, soil, go ahead and fill narrow, shallow art trays with different materials and let the children step right in them. You could fill them with wet and dry sand. You can fill them with flower petals. You could do soil. You could do kinetic sand. You could do shaving cream. You could do astroturf. Really, it's limitless. So whatever you have around that the children can explore is going to work well. All right. Over in the Ocean, in a Coral Reef by Marianne Burks, is a little riff on the traditional song Over in the Meadow. That means that you can choose either to read the book to the children or to sing it, right? Over in the ocean where the scuba divers dive, lived an old mother pufferfish and her pufferfish 5. Puff, said the mother, we puff, said the 5. So they puffed in and out where the scuba divers dive. And this is a counting book. And very helpfully, here at the end, the author has included your musical notes in case you don't remember the rhyme. And she's also included some facts about the animals that she has profiled in the book and some activities, right? Helpful tips for reading. And one of the things she includes are motions for finger play if you wanted to turn each verse into a finger play. And yes, this book absolutely calls for some sort of dramatization, whether you're doing a finger play or acting it out. Um, and all of the illustrations are done with Sculpey clay, and the illustrator actually explains her process too in the back notes. Um, and we love Sculpey clay. We usually use it in the summer to make garden creatures. Right? It's an air hardening clay, and you could certainly use it to make the sea creatures if you want to do the book or whatever is what children are noticing in your habitat. And another option is Hello Ocean, Hola Mar by Pam Munoz Ryan. And obviously, this is a bilingual book in Spanish and English. And what it does is it takes each of the 5 senses in turn, right? So, what do you see at the beach? What can you feel at the beach? What can you smell at the beach? And yes, I think you could, right, turn this into whatever is at your habitat for what you are noticing. I think this is a great way to introduce that, 5-finger calming technique. You know that one where you first identify 5 things you can see while you're sitting there. So you would do 5 things, right? I can see green leaves. I can see the blue sky. I can see an easel. Right? So you're going through all 5, breathing deeply through each one. Then you are going to identify 4 things you can touch, right? 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing that you might be able to taste. And by the end of doing that, you've heightened your senses and calmed your body. I love Out of the Ocean by Deborah Fraser because it is just so calm and simple. It's one of those gentle books. It's not going to have your children rolling on the ground. There's not coming at them quickly. It's just encouraging them to notice, right? To slow down, take the time to notice, and to appreciate the small treasures. I also like the fact that it has these silhouetted photographs, right? It has the photographs and then these silhouette cutouts, right? And so I like the combination of the artwork there. And so again, I think this is the time to encourage children to go on a small treasure hunt, whether you're on the beach, whether you're at a different habitat, and what can you appreciate really about the natural world and what kind of memories can you create? Right. So if you have watched some of my other picture book roundups, you know that I always include a wordless option because it gives everybody practice in oral storytelling and using their imaginations. And so this one is a Wave by Susie Lee, and a child is at the beach and playing with the waves. First she, dips her toes in, is relatively hesitant, right? Until gradually she starts splashing, right? She kind of pretends to control the waves, right? Can I make you go forward and back until a giant wave comes and gets her entirely wet, but also washes up all of these treasures onto the shore for her to explore. And I think this book is a great one to open up a social emotional learning conversation because the child really is hesitant at first, right? They are literally just dipping a toe in until they get more and more confident. And they do end up getting drenched, right? Doesn't necessarily have that happy ending, but it's okay, right? She gets the treasures and she has now at the very end gained confidence because she waves back. Let me see if I can find that page. She waves back at the wave and with a smile on her face, and you know that the child is looking forward to coming the next time and will probably be braver the next time. Right? Just like I always include a wordless option, I also always include a nonfiction option. And so the nonfiction option is Coral Reefs by Jill Eisbaum. And this one really is special because of the National Geographic photographs that allow children to see things that they otherwise would not be able to see, right? The deep sea creatures that are usually hidden to the eyes, right? And so I think this would be a great book to dip in and out of, right? I probably wouldn't read it all through, or to leave at some sort of provocation, invitation, where you have the book next to a set of shells, a set of acrylic animals, and some sort of sensory material, right? Whether that's sand, whether that's water, whether that is shaving cream, either regular or frozen, either white or with blue food coloring to mimic the color of water, and let children create their own stories about what is happening under the sea. So obviously, this is not an exhaustive list. There are plenty of really good beach reads for preschoolers out there. I've given you some of my favorites. If you have more, feel free to leave them in the comments or to get in touch with me individually through Facebook, through Instagram, through my newsletter. And then I will wish you happy reading and see you here next week for another episode of Wildwood Teaching. I will see you there.